I'm excited.
Oh, so am I. I mean, I've been wanting to do like podcast stuff forever, and it's so exciting to actually be here now. Here now.
John Rockovich.
Sir.
Dude, cheers, man.
Cheers.
I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have you here. And the best part is you already gave me my opening clip with your little how thrilled you are too. So,
Oh, good.
yeah,
Good.
This is awesome. But anyways, for anybody that doesn't know who you are, I have a little bit of a understanding of how badass you are with animation and video editing and shooting. But why don't you give a little bit of description of what your skill sets are, what you bring to the table, and you know how badass you are.
Okay, well, I'm so glad. I'm so badass, at least in the eyes of like one individual.
I do think. I mean, dude, you are a better editor than I am, and like I don't meet many people that are that good at editing. Everybody tends to be like, "Yeah, I'm an editor," and then I see their work and I'm like, "Yeah." I like kind of pat them on
It's
the
like,
back.
oh, just do your L cuts and J cuts, and
Yeah.
call it a day. It's fine.
But yeah, so I almost feel honored to have you on, but give a little bit of background because I don't. Did you go to school for this stuff?
So I went to college, I would say twice. The
Awesome.
first time I went, it was for like multimedia. So that's where I kind of learned Adobe Premiere and After Effects, the holy grail of
Oh, yeah.
visual effects and motion graphics until you, I guess, break down and learn Nuke, which, sorry, not going to do.
Oh,
No, After Effects, it does the things that I want it to do, and it's just like, it's almost like switching like editing software. Like you kind of don't want to like switch to something else if you've been using something for so long.
oh, dude, I'm a Final Cut guy.
Yeah.
Now, for some people that aren't familiar with like Adobe and After Effects, can you kind of distinguish the two for those that are like newbies to all this conversation?
So After Effects, in a way, is, I guess, what we would call in like the VFX industry, like a compositing program. It's
Okay.
kind of where you bring in a lot of your elements, like your green screen stuff, or your Michael Bay explosions, which you can probably just buy stock off of
Sure.
like Video Copilot. But it's basically a way of layering. It's kind of like Photoshop in a
Okay.
way, where you're just layering your elements. It's kind of like when you see those VFX breakdowns of Game of Thrones and stuff, and they're like, okay, here's Jon Snow, and
Yeah.
then here's the actual snow, and then here's the White Walkers, and then we're gonna put some fog and stuff on it. And like that's just kind of what After Effects is in a nutshell. It's a way to build effects in layers.
Gotcha.
More
And
or less.
you first started learning that in college, or did you even do this stuff in high school?
So really the only thing I was doing in high school was editing.
Okay.
And I started editing in like 8th grade, so that was like, forever
Was
ago.
that with Adobe?
No, it was Windows Movie Maker.
Oh,
It was,
wow.
oh man, you have no idea. I was just like, oh my God, you can make a cut here and it's so great. But you can only work on one line of video. So like you're doing these stupid like cross dissolves and star wipes. Like you're making your stuff basically look like discount Star Wars.
Hey, you have to start somewhere. So if you're starting there, one day you'll be to where John's at, but we all started there.
Oh yeah,
'Cause you have to, right?
You have
I
to
mean, in a
start
weird
somewhere.
way.
You're not just gonna dive into Adobe Premiere. It's like, I know exactly what I'm doing here. It's like, but you're not. You're not gonna know exactly what you're doing. That's why you start off on like iMovie,
Yes.
or Windows Movie Maker, or iMovie Pro, which was basically Final Cut 10 when it first came out.
Pretty much.
But yeah, you definitely have to start somewhere, because you're not just gonna dive in and be like, I know how to surfboard now.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, surfboard, because it should be surfing, but my English language is a little different from other people.
All right, so you started in 8th grade with Windows Media Player, and then when did this start to progress? And then like, why did you even go to school for this?
So growing up, I grew up in a really small town, and when I say small, it's like 10, 11,000 people. So it's
That's
not like
pretty small.
it's not like super small. It's not like Podunky, like 500
Dude, that's pretty
population,
small.
but it's small. And there wasn't a lot going on around there. So a lot of us would like skateboard and stuff, and we would watch so many skateboarding videos. Like,
Did you watch Jackass?
definitely watch Jackass.
And who was it? Was it CKY? too?
CKY and
Yeah.
Jackass? Oh, dude, watched it so many times. Yeah. And like I watched those videos, like the skateboard videos, and just like the editing on some of them. I was like, this is cool, like editing the music. I didn't know this was a thing.
Sure, yeah.
And then all of a sudden I started getting into using Windows Movie Maker, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I want to learn how to do this. And then it took a while to actually like then get to college and finally learn like a more professional software
Sure.
and like move away from Movie Maker. But it was definitely my interest in like skateboard videos and editing the music, which I still love doing because music brings emotion to your piece. And without it, like, could you imagine having a dramatic scene and it's just silent? There's not even like low, like droning ambience.
I know what
It's
you're
just
talking
like,
about.
I want to get into this, but all I can hear are like the crickets in the background.
How long do you spend on music? Because I have this debate with people all the time of how long I'll spend. And like let's say you were making a 60-second, I don't know, marketing ad. How long do you think on average you might spend to find the right track? I know that's a random thing.
I mean,
but
I would probably spend at least an hour.
yeah,
Because if it's a short thing, I mean, even if it's a long form thing, like 2 or 3 minutes, like
sure,
the music is what drives your piece.
totally.
And like, if you pick the wrong music, like say you want it to be sad, but all of a sudden you're like, how about some dubstep?
Yeah.
It's like, that's not going to fit the emotion. But also it can be so intricate and specific with the sort of music you want to use that sometimes you're in the ballpark, but you haven't quite gotten the track that you really wanted quite yet.
Yeah.
And so you keep searching and searching.
Sure.
You travel all the way to Mordor, and then you come back and you search some more, and you'd be like, yeah, Frodo's a crazy SOB.
That is hilarious, dude. No, so it's funny you bring up music because like that's one thing that I kind of pride myself on, and particularly like my style is like I actually try to like I've been doing these board gaming videos recently. I've teamed up with this guy Quacklope, my old buddy Jesse, and basically he likes my style because I purposely do different music than the gaming industry totally does, which is kind of like hit or miss, right? Like it either sometimes works or sometimes it doesn't. But man, I'll spend hours. Probably, I think the most I've ever probably spent on a one track was like 6 or 7 hours, but. It's like when you get the right track, I even put this in one of my videos. It almost tells you what to do. The
Yeah.
music will almost like guide you in this weird
Oh yeah,
way,
it's
right?
like make a cut here, make a
Yes.
cut here. It's like thank you for the blueprint. You made my job so much easier by just being like just cut on
Yes.
the beat.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, now the other thing too, and I used to do this in my beginning days, and I've tried to kind of like incorporate this into my editing, but it's like not editing to every beat, but you know, kind of switching up. Because like in the beginning, man, you can go back and watch some of my videos, and it's like if it was a dunt, it was a cut. If it was a dunt, it was a cut.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do they teach that in like? So you went to school for this? Like, did you learn this? Do they teach this in school? Like, I have
mean-
zero. I didn't go to school for
I
this.
mean,
So I don't know.
not really. I mean, there was like production classes, and you definitely like, in terms of music, it was definitely like, do whatever you want. And when it came to editing, it's like, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Until like the professor's like, this is crap. It's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Would the professor say that?
Oh, I had a couple professors that were like, there was something about certain things I did. Like there was one time where I wasn't taking down notes because like I have a pretty decent memory.
Sure.
And like really now, like, if I looked at myself now, I'm like, dude, pick up a notebook and just like grab a pen. Like, you don't need to write paragraphs of notes. Just be like, cut at this time code.
Sure.
Or just remember to not make this suck. Okay, period. But yeah, it's sometimes like, because I went to film school my second time around in college, and it was an experience because I got to be with a bunch of people who also wanted to make films because like somebody at my last college was like, dude, filmmaking's great. I'm like, yeah, it is. And then all of a sudden I went to film school. It's like, filmmaking's hard. And it's like, yeah, it is. Like, so difficult.
Yeah.
There's so many moving parts.
So you were working with filmmakers?
Yeah, well, students, like some of the kids I was working with. I say kids because I was a transfer student, so I was like one of the few people in my class who could actually drink. So anytime I went to a party, it was like, oh, the cops are here. It's like, oh, they are?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. But yeah, I definitely worked with filmmakers in school and also out of school, like doing like some freelance stuff. And like, I mean, I became like an assistant editor on like a mini series for Stars, like right out of school, because it was filming in Pittsburgh, and they were
like Stars, the TV show or channel,
like the channel. Yeah.
Wow, dude.
So that was my first gig right out of college, was being an assistant editor on like some big name like
what did
network.
you make? Can I ask what you made then? I mean, when was this?
Let's see here. That
Which
I might have
pretty
been
cool, by the way.
I might have been making like $500 a week.
Okay.
500-600 a week. But this is like, also, it's Pittsburgh. The cost of living is much lower there.
Gotcha.
Than it is around
Plus,
here.
you're straight out of college, so that's
yeah.
good
I'm
money
straight out of college. I'm like, dude, this is my first full-time job out of college. This is awesome. But yeah, that was a really fun experience. And even though we were being told that we're going to be like working on Avid, so that was the first time I ever touched Avid, and other editors on the show that they pulled in from the school, they had already had classes on Avid. I had never touched Avid before. So I am teaching myself Avid, as are the editors on the show themselves, because they were used to using Premiere. But they didn't think Premiere would be able to handle all of the terabytes of footage.
Sure.
So they were going with Avid.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, they were like, no, screw this. We're not doing Avid anymore. We're doing Premiere. And it's like, yay. Come back to the light side.
Yeah.
Because to this day, I cannot stand working in Avid.
So you went Windows Media Player to Adobe to Avid, just dabbled in it, right?
I dabbled in Avid, but my main program was still Premiere. Like, I never got away from that. It was kind of like, it locked me in. And as soon as they started doing like the subscription-based thing where, you know, I could actually afford to do it, instead of like, let's drop $2,000 on all these programs, which half of them I'm probably not going to use.
Yeah.
It's like, or you can pay $53 a month and get them all with all the upgrades and have like cloud storage. And it's just like, I don't understand why so many people complained about the subscription base, because they're like, I want to buy it one time.
Well, I'm that guy. I'm the one-time
buyer.
buyer.
You're the one-time
But see,
guy.
I'm also locked into all the Mac and everything, so I guess I'm just that sucker anyways. Like, it was inevitable because I had all the Mac products that I was probably going to be on Final Cut anyways. So, but I mean, okay. So to simplify some of the things you've discussed in regards to Avid, that's it. What in a nutshell? Like, do people still use it? And they do.
Oh, it's still like old Hollywood. Like, there's so many people that still use it. I mean, it is a pretty stable program. The only issue is, once it starts to become unstable and you go online to try to figure out the errors that are going on in it, there's no community.
What do you mean, like, unstable? Because, like, I'm unfamiliar with that. Like, Final Cut, I mean, I'm not doing anything super advanced, so I can understand why I wouldn't run into as many, like, problems. But give me an example of, like, something you're running into.
So say, because I know Premiere, because Premiere is not a perfect monster either. There's errors all the
Sure,
time,
yeah.
and it's just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah,
Why do
yeah.
you hate me so much? But then I hop online, and it's like, oh, there's so many forums and message boards. Like if you have an error where it's like, my computer or my program keeps crashing on export because of like some certain thing, like unknown. It's like error code like negative 194563. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like that's the difference between like the community for Premiere
Okay.
and the community for Avid, because people with Premiere, they're like, there's like tens of hundreds of thousands of people that are like, I know what your problem is. On Avid, it's like, hey bro, do you know how to fix this? And it's like some guy crouching around in a corner. It's like, don't bother me.
I was gonna say, it sounds like it's just a bunch of old farts versus like a new generation.
Exactly.
Possible.
It's very old school, and honestly, the interface, it pretty much looks the same as it did like 10 or so years ago.
So we've talked about some of the softwares and stuff like that. I wanted to kind of go back real quick to the filmmaker thing, because like I almost feel embarrassed if I would ever consider myself a filmmaker, because I'm not traditionally taught. I haven't really been around filmmakers. So you mentioned that you have been around filmmakers. I guess I would lump myself into like YouTuber / self-taught community.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I kind of like admire when I meet people that are into film and have shot film before is just kind of like their just abundance of knowledge of like lighting, things that like it's not the questions I get on my YouTube channel. Let's just say that. So what is it because these people went to school that they know this information, or is it because they're in that community that they're aware of all this information?
So I feel like you learn some groundwork if you go to film school. Like I think maybe like 20 to 30% of like what you are as a filmmaker probably came from film school.
Sure.
But the other part is when you're collaborating with a bunch of people, and a bunch of different people, because everybody like lights a scene differently.
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
do I want to light it like a Christopher Nolan movie, or am I more of like a David Fincher sort of person? Like, it's sort of like you're kind of pulling all these influences, and then you yourself come up with your own sort of style, or you just copy shit. I mean, it's all
R&D, rob and duplicate.
Yeah, but I think you kind of develop your own sort of style, but you definitely learn things from like people who are older and more experienced than you, because you know, if I tried to light something 10 years ago with like the 3 lights that I have, I would be like, so put them all in front and have it all just like, I wouldn't know about dimension or how to like form the light around an actor. I would just like put all 3 of them up front and be like, just blast all the light at them like you're on a news broadcast. Because that's the thing about news broadcasts. Like, sorry if you light those news studios, they're always so front lit.
You know what's so funny is that you brought this up, because I was hoping you would, because like, give a little bit of a background. You have, quote unquote, at least as much as I know you, we work together at basically a news studio.
It was a news studio.
So yes, you are spot on. Everything is like, how bright can we get it? How crystal clear can everything? Give me some of like the horror stories, or like no names or anything, obviously, but like some of like do's and don'ts that you learn from that environment, and like maybe recommendations to people that are out there that are maybe trying to shoot a hybrid, because like there's something to be said for like shooting newsy, but like not everybody needs to be smack in the middle of the frame. Like maybe they can have some shadows. So like, can you give some stories and like maybe some of the things you see where they're going wrong?
I think some of it comes down to just prepping and planning and just organizing.
Okay.
Because there was some days where it seemed like things were pretty like hectic,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, why is everybody running around like chickens with their head cut off? Like, if, and I understand like there's daily briefs and like the stuff has to be quick, but also it's just like, if you have a good organization, like skill in set, like set in there, then yeah, it can still like go off the rails at any point, but at least you know you're trying to, it's like controlled chaos.
Sure.
Like you want it to, it's already chaos.
Yeah.
But if you can control a little bit of that chaos and actually like kind of know what you want and what you want to do, and also just being like, you don't always need to be simple. You're allowed to be complex. You're allowed to be dynamic, because I mean, just doing some graphics, it was just like, take off the drop shadow, take off this, and it's like, it's literally everything that makes it look better. And then all of a sudden it's just like text, and I'm like, well, there's nothing creative about that. Like I know there's a time and place where you just dumb it down and be like, it's just a graphic, like let it go, John. You can just let it go. But sometimes it's just like, if you keep pulling apart like something that somebody created until it doesn't really resemble
what they created,
and I don't know, it could have just been like a power struggle thing, or I don't really know. I mean,
do you think though that the real problem is in that particular, like, so, and maybe a little background, working in an environment where content is being created daily, but like multiple pieces of content, do you think that the harsh reality is you just can't be that creative in that kind of, in that amount of like churn and burn environment?
I definitely think yes, because when it comes to that sort of like news environment, I mean,
or do you think that the way that you could combat that is you just give complete freedom to whoever the editor is, and you say, look, we don't care, you just meet the quota, but it can be whatever you want? So like, would that have probably given, you probably would have enjoyed that, right?
It would have been nice if I could have gone off the rails a little bit and just kind of like did my own thing. But I also know like this is a business, and like they kind of know like what people are like looking for.
That's true.
But also sometimes I think that maybe not thinking that your audience is like that dumb. Like, I think you need to give your audience more credit. Like, they're smarter than this. Like, humans are smart. Not all humans are smart, but, like, there is a good portion of them who are. And I think if, say you have white text on a lighter sort of background.
Okay.
And sometimes the way to combat that and make it pop more is just put, like, a super feathered out drop shadow on it. And like call it a day. But I would like come home from work and look at commercials. I'm like, they're using white text on like a brighter looking sky, and it's like nobody's like, I mean, there's probably people on forums like, did you see that commercial? I couldn't see what it said. And it's like, people, their brains can process the words that are there. Because literally there's been like, you know, the scientific test where they'll be given words and the letters are like mixed up in the middle, but the beginning and last word are the same as it's usually spelled. And people are like, oh yeah, it's that word. It's like, see, people aren't dumb.
That's
like,
so funny.
It's just built into our DNA and our brain and the way we think.
You brought it up, so gotta go down that wormhole, but like,
oh yay,
I find it so hard to watch some things on TV because I'm so just engulfed in like, ooh, that was a cool graphic.
Yeah.
Like if I could screen record my TV, which I'm sure I could figure it out and do it, but like I'd probably just literally come and try to replicate everything. I mean, I don't even watch I don't watch a lot of movies, never have. It's never been my jam. Do you watch movies and find yourself being like, ooh, that's good lighting? Like, is it hard for you to watch movies?
All the time, and my wife hates me for it. Because she's like, you don't have to point out everything, but the shot and the framing and the lighting, like, we just started... Well, we didn't just start watching Mr. Robot, but, like, we're on the last season now.
Okay.
And I hate myself for, like, not watching it until now, because... Honestly, I think it's one of the best TV shows I've ever watched.
Really?
And the lighting is great, the cinematography is great, the music is great, the acting is great. And it's just like there's certain things where I see something, I'm like, how can I replicate? Like, how
Yeah.
do they do that?
You know what? These crews should have people like you and I just give them feedback just to boost their morale, because I'll say these things to my wife and she'll be like, I don't notice that. And I guess the brutal truth is, as lighting goes and as cinematographers, you kind of do want to make it good enough that you don't notice it, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, like, I'm knocking myself, but like it's pretty obvious like these lights are there. If I were really going to do it properly, it'd be like you'd probably want to like not be so obvious with it. And I feel like that's what a lot of shows do and stuff. Anyways, my point to it is I can sit there and notice these things all day. My wife's just like, "Oh." And I'm like, "Damn it." But somebody spent hours. Somebody spent hours. I was doing a board game the other day and I had everything standing up and I used ticky-tacky and I was like, well, that took 6 hours. And she's like, I would have never known that. I'm like, you freaking kidding me? Okay, back on track. Oh gosh, what were we talking about? We were talking about TV shows and stuff like that, I think. Right?
I mean, but that is so true though, because it's like you're a creative. Like, we're both in the creative field, and like it's so difficult to just like create this imaginary light switch and then just turn it off. It's like, no, it is a part of us now, whether you like it or not.
Totally.
So as much as like my wife hates that I mention all these things on how like even certain visual effects shots might be done.
Yeah.
Like, she's now learning. She understands like what compositing
She
and
can
like,
now work for you.
yes, she could. Like, the fact that I can mention the word rotoscoping and she knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm like, this is why I married her.
Oh my gosh! Either that, or it's gonna be the death of both of our marriages. Where
I mean,
like,
it
they're
might.
gonna have to take therapy and be like, they just would never stop talking
They just
about
wouldn't shut up about the visual effects on
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. Like, I'm sorry, but it looked good and people should have got paid more to do it.
Oh my god! All right, how far are you along in your beer?
I am halfway done.
Okay, I am literally. I've never done this on the show, but this is going so well, and I've crushed my beer that I'm gonna make a cut. What beer do you want? Do you want the Pilsner?
Oh, no, I'm still good.
I'm bringing you another one. Do you want a Coors or do you want the Pilsner that I got for you?
I'll take the Pilsner.
Good. This is gonna be a long podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right. So you get that bad boy right there.
Look at that.
Yeah, man. These are my wife hits up the Costco every other week, and they've got like a 12-pack of these beers, and that's the Pilsner. I really like that one. And then the IPA, and then they got a double IPA, man. Can't be drinking that while filming this. Get my butt.
I haven't had an IPA in like forever.
Really?
Because I kind of like was dealing with some like health stuff last year.
Okay.
It was like an acid reflux thing, and so I didn't drink for 2 weeks.
Good.
And it was difficult because my
How was sleep?
huh
How was sleep?
sleep was fine. I mean,
Really?
I'm actually always I'm always kind of a night owl. Like, I always stay up till like 2:00 in the morning,
Okay.
and I don't know why. I think it just always ends up that way.
Gotcha. So you stopped drinking for 2 weeks?
I stopped drinking for 2 weeks because I was basically trying to kind of go on a diet in which like I wasn't eating anything acidic at
Okay.
all. And I got this book and it had like recipes and crap I could eat. So it ended up being that I cut out like pineapple, tomatoes. I even cut out caffeine for
Really?
2 weeks, and alcohol and carbonated beverages, because they were like, don't drink carbonated beverages. I was like, you got it. And it was just like, I definitely feel better now because I know what my limits are. Like, I don't eat tomatoes and like acidic stuff as much as I used to,
Sure.
because, you know, I don't like feeling like crap on a daily basis.
Not if you're going to be sitting and editing all day either.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
no fun.
It's just like, that's why when I started drinking, I started just doing like lighter beers.
Okay.
Because I wasn't going to go full bore and be like, I want the heaviest beer imaginable. It's like, no, I don't, because I don't want to feel like crap afterwards. But now I have actually started like doing like Pilsners, and they are like heavier, but they're not like IPA heavy.
Totally.
So I think that's kind of why I stopped and kind of worked my way back into alcohol, because I wasn't giving it up. I was never going to give it up.
Well, tell me what you think of that. But it's hilarious that you mentioned the whole IPAs.
Ooh.
Is it good?
I think this is actually better than my first beer.
Yay!
Dude, this is really good.
Dude, you and I then should go to their brewery one day. I actually
it's
made
in
a
Sterling.
Dude, I made a ridiculously sick video for them. And I'm not gonna lie. Okay, side note, going on a tangent here. So I made this video for this company, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna send it to them. Hopefully they'll either give me some free beer or like have me come film a video for them. I think I might have like been a threat to their social media manager, because it was like I sent it and it was like it just fell on its face. And I was like, I think that's a lesson learned. If like you do have a good product, don't send it to the person that you might make look bad. You know what I mean? But that's a side story. We should go there though.
Yeah, no, I would go there, because that is really good.
Well, there we go. But all right, so back on track. We were talking about your wife, and she knows what rotoscoping is. I don't think most people that actually watch this or even watch my channel know what that is. So what is rotoscoping?
So in short, rotoscoping is the absolute worst job you can have as a VFX artist.
That's what I've heard.
In long terms, rotoscoping is the method of drawing a mask around an object and then going frame by frame, adjusting that mask until you just want to make a career change. Because it's so meticulous, it's so monotonous. Like, I know there's like tools that exist now, like there's RotoBrush 2.0 and After Effects, which I've used sometimes, but it's still a little like janky. Like, you want it to work, but like it works better than the first version, because I remember using the first version, and oh my god, it was the slowest plug-in on the face of the planet. And so 2.0, they're like, yeah, guys, we gotta speed this up. This is way too slow.
Yeah.
But like rotoscoping, it's just, a good example is when you see like those advertisements for movies on like TV and like the commercials. And this is always the way I explain rotoscoping to people who don't know what it is. It's kind of like when you see the movies and it's like the best film this summer, and it's got like the character in front of like the 3D text or whatnot. I'm like, that like is rotoscoping.
Dude, it's so funny you say that, because people think that's so easy. I've gotten that request so many times where they're like, hey, could you just put the text, like, I need like his body to be in front of it. Is that cool with you? And I'm like, that's going to be a freaking nightmare for me.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not easy. What are you talking about?
And then they always are like, but it looks so, I'm like, oh my gosh. All right. Well, what's the most difficult thing you've ever had to rotoscope? And how long did it take?
Okay, so...
And did it even turn out good? Because that's the worst, is when you actually spend the time.
It did.
And then like the feather's wrong or something, and you're like, oh god.
So what I did, I did this one effect in college. I think it was like my last year. Actually, it might have been out of college. I don't know. Yeah. I'm messed up with my timeline right now. But it was this shot in which this guy was running in front of like a FedEx truck, and it was kind of like a tracking shot backwards, just like on the FedEx truck, and the guy like running in front of it, and he was in like a milkman attire, because the film was called Milkman. It took place it was like a period piece comedy.
Okay.
And my friend came to me and he's like, we can't have the FedEx logo on the truck because we want to send this to festivals.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you make it so it's not on there? And the thing is, like, I had done like some minor like rotoscoping at that point.
Sure.
So it's like, yeah, totally.
You knew you could do it.
Yeah, like I knew I could do it. I just didn't know how long it was going to take for me to do it. And so it was like a half body shot, like the full body, but I only had to roto the top half because that's what was interacting with the FedEx truck.
Okay.
This shot was, oh man, it was at least 20 seconds long.
Which, just for perspective, that is a long-ass time when it comes to video.
20 seconds.
How many frames is that? 24, right?
Times 24 frames, so that's like 480
So
frames.
400...
Frame by frame, adjusting it, yada yada. And this is when I was just rotoscoping in After Effects. Like, I was making the keyframes and adjusting the mask. And the one thing you kind of learn when you start doing more complex rotoscopings is you don't just draw a mask around the entire person, because that is an unethical way to do it. You want to do parts. Like, do the head, do the arm, do the other arm. Because the thing is,
I never knew that.
If you have to go back and adjust something, it's just like, it's a pain in the ass.
I've never thought that because it moves so little that maybe it's easier to edit it in little pieces rather than the whole thing.
Yeah, it's better to roto the different pieces of something than doing the whole thing, because then you can work in steps. Like, say,
I never thought about that.
On a complex shot, you're not going to be able to get it all done in a day anyway.
Sure.
So at least do it in pieces. Like, spend a day working on, like, the feet and the legs.
All right, fact that you just said day, how many days did this thing take?
So off and on, it took me about a month to rotoscope.
And were you even happy with it when it was all said and done?
I was so happy with it.
Oh, did it look perfect?
It looked really, really good, and I was so glad I was done with it.
Sure.
Once, because here's the thing. What made this process so difficult was the side of a FedEx truck. It has a tendency to kind of be a little white. A milkman outfit also tends to be a little white.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, they weren't the same color.
Thank goodness.
But they were close enough where it made it really, really difficult to know, okay, is this a part of the guy's shirt or is this a part of the truck? And that's the kind of the reason it took so long, other than the fact that I had never had experience doing rotoscoping on such a difficult shot.
What would you charge now if someone asked you to do that?
Like that same
like
shot?
If you knew you had to replicate that again.
Well,
just because I want people to understand like what these kind of things cost, because people just think that you can just, it's like everybody thinks that you can do what you can with a photo with video, and I want to like punch them in the face. So what would something like that cost?
Well, I can tell you now, I could definitely do that shot a lot quicker. And probably even better. I mean, I don't know how much better, because I actually think that's one of the best VFX shots I've done, and that happened like 5+ years ago.
Yeah.
But I could definitely do it quicker, and it's just the sheer time, like the amount of time, because it's a
month. So
it definitely wouldn't take a month. I would say I could do the rotoscoping in maybe like 3 or 4 days. But I wouldn't be using After Effects. I would actually be using a different program called Mocha, which actually comes with After Effects. Mocha is just like another program for kind of drawing mass and doing rotoscoping and sometimes doing tracking and stuff. But it's really, really good for rotoscoping because unlike in After Effects where you're making keyframes and adjusting the mask, Mocha will track the mask and form the mask around the object you had drawn a mask around. So it will track it, and it makes it easier because you don't have to go frame by frame. It will just kind of like... Now, if it's a really wacky shot and somebody's just like waving their arm up and down, like... Dude, there's no way Mocha's gonna be like, exactly, and I'm gonna move that mask exactly like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've spent quite a bit of time talking about rotoscoping and masking and all that stuff. Got a little bit of background on your history. Um, and obviously, we worked together for a little while, which was pretty awesome. That's how we even met. But currently, you have a YouTube page that you're developing.
Yes, I would definitely say developing.
But I I wish there was this magical button that you could hit to be like, okay, John's work is good enough, so it should at least be at this many subscribers, or like Trey's work is good enough, it should be at this. But we all know that's not possible on YouTube. But I'll toot your own horn here. Your content's really freaking good. I just recently watched. I didn't watch all of it. Sorry, didn't give full attention, but I watched. You keep putting it on Facebook, so I end up watching it on Facebook before I do on YouTube. So, but I watched your one with the chess where you had them on the ceiling and stuff. So if you haven't seen that yet, please go watch. Link will be in the description below. But what are you doing on the channel? What are some of the goals? And then, like, from what I've seen, it's a lot of like animation, looks like 4D stuff, maybe.
Cinema 4D.
What is going on there? And yeah, give yourself a plug, man, because I think it's good stuff. I think someone that probably is interested in my channel definitely is going to be interested in what you're doing.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, I personally, I kind of had gotten out of doing visual effects because I got burnt out after a while.
Sure.
And then I started looking at some like YouTube videos, a channel called Corridor Digital. They do amazing videos.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to do that. But then I thought about how I would watch just hours and hours of tutorials on YouTube. And it's just somebody talking and just a monotone voice.
Oh, yeah.
And we just add this right here. And we're going to click this option. And I'm like, I want to make a channel that's dedicated to making VFX tutorials, but make them entertaining.
Which you have done. I want to say it's like a tutorial, like comedy, like hybrid.
Yeah, it's
kind
of
right?
like what I was going for, because I didn't want to do some simple like this is me talking you through like this process. Like I think like doing visual effects can be frustrating, but it can also be fun and really rewarding.
Totally.
Once you've pulled them off, once you've gone through the excruciating process of figuring out and doing problem solving. But that was kind of my goal, was to kind of bring more of a comedic tone to tutorials, because I think personally for me, if I'm laughing and entertained, I think information tends to stick with me more, and I
can see that.
I tend to remember the things better, but I also don't feel like I'm slogging through something if it's making me laugh every couple minutes. And I think that was kind of like the approach. Is I just wanted to teach people these certain things, but I wanted to make them laugh. I wanted to entertain them and let them have fun with it.
Yeah. Are you getting good feedback? Are people liking it? Like what's because that's probably the toughest thing. Sorry, I'm like almost answering my own question here, but like the one thing that's pretty tough is like not getting a lot of views or not getting a lot of comments, or like all the effort that goes into making these videos, and you know, meeting this like deadline that inevitably, that if you miss it, whatever. But like what's been some of the rewarding things, and what's been some of the frustrating things so far?
So some of the rewarding things have definitely been on the last video I did. It wasn't the ceiling chest one, but it was one that I did just on 3D camera tracking and Cinema 4D. And basically I had a couple comments, and like that's what I've been kind of fishing for, is comments from people I don't know.
Sure.
Because like, you know, if my best friend comments on it, it doesn't really count as...
It's not engagement, yeah.
You're not hiring your exposure. It's just like one of your friends is just being nice and leaving you a comment.
Sure.
But there was like two random people on my Cinema 4D camera tracking video that actually commented and said like, I learned a lot from this, and I was also really entertained. I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do.
Like, yes!
I'm like, thank you, you're getting it.
You're like and
now go
subscribe.
tell your friends
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like and subscribe
And
because
hit the bell notification.
because I need subscriptions. I want a custom URL on YouTube. I don't want to use like.
What are you at currently? What are you at?
I have 18 right now.
All right, can we at least get that to 25? 25.
Dude, 25, that would be the best thing that's happened to me like in a month.
I think that's the thing that is so damn frustrating about YouTube is that, like I said, your content is easily worth probably like 5,000 subscribers, I would say. Like, just to be brutal honest. Similar to mine, I'm probably should be in that threshold. But damn it, it's hard to get people to
It's
get
so
on there.
difficult.
And it's like, it's
because nobody cares about good quality content. They just want to watch somebody die inside number 182.
Yeah, you think so? I think
They
people
like
want to learn. People want to learn.
People want to learn, but there's a good portion because I suffer from watching the same sort of videos. I kind of want to watch people die on the inside for like the umpteenth time. And they're just compilation videos, and it's low quality because it's just, you're not making the content. You're taking content from other people and you're putting it in a compilation video, and it gets millions of views while we're slogging away and trying to like put time and effort.
Here's what I will say: nothing good ever came easy. So I think it's a long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Because I do think what you're referring to, they get millions of views, but I don't know if that's going to be like a long term strategy.
Oh, it's not.
But I have this theory, and I wish I was big enough because I would tell all my followers, I'd be like, this is what we're going to do. I want to have like this. I have this goal of like basically convincing people that if you genuinely think their content's good, that you give them full retention regardless. So like if I land on your video and I'm like, okay, John only has 18 subscribers, that's okay. I like what he's doing. I am going to let his video play from beginning to end regardless. Even if I walk out of the room, I'm going to go. And like I almost want to like create a full retention campaign to just like help promote small people. Because dude, it is a fucking nightmare to get people to like and subscribe, or like to get the algorithm to pick up on something. And like, God forbid I make a skateboard video and all of a sudden my channel's now a skateboarding video, and it's like,
because you don't want to. You don't even want to deter yourself away from the reason you made it to begin with. Like, what if I just started being like, "Here's me playing Call of Duty. I'm not very good at it, but I know people will watch it."
You probably get a lot more views.
I probably would.
I recently did a video on a board game, Darkest Dungeon, which I actually have back over here.
Oh, nice.
And dude, it's gotten a ton of views recently, but the retention rate's garbage. And I actually called my buddy who got me the game, and I was like, look, this is great that I'm getting views, but the retention's crap. Like, this is kind of like a love-hate thing where it's like, I'd love to get the views, but in reality, I want people that are there because they want to be there. I don't necessarily want people to be there because they just kind of like, they saw my thumbnail and got roped in.
Yeah.
But
which is usually what happens, because
that's the king of everything.
Yeah, thumbnails are so important.
I mean, if my wife wouldn't kill me, if I put a chick in a bikini and like Final Cut was over her shoulder and that was the way, it just said FCPX tutorial with a chicken.
So many views.
Dude, it would.
Many
I don't know
views.
about the retention because they get really upset when they saw me.
Oh, yeah.
But, it would
work.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely like what happens on YouTube is like you'll use a thumbnail that has nothing to do with the video itself.
Yep.
And people will click on it, and because technically that counts as a view, there we go, got another view, and yeah, they can maybe watch a couple seconds and furiously stomp off like, this wasn't what I was looking for. And
what is because we kind of gone down the wormhole of YouTube, and I am obsessed with it. Are you obsessed with it?
I am obsessed with it to a point. I definitely have started to feel a little burnt out because I do put a lot of work into my videos, and even just like the effects themselves. Like, I do these effects like 3 times. Like, I don't just do it once.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, I have to know how to do it.
I was gonna say that in itself is a lot.
Yeah, because I don't want to like try to teach somebody how to do something but not actually know how to do it myself. It's like, yeah, sorry guys, I'm talking out of my ass in this video. Like, I don't know, just go watch another boring video to teach you how to do this. And that's the thing is, I don't really get super detailed, and I don't go over like what certain things do, because I'd rather crack a joke about it than actually give them the full in-depth, like, this is what this option does. But I think that's also, I think it can also help people who want to gain this knowledge and want to go out and actually seek it, instead of like having it just fed to you.
That's good point made, because I got a comment the other day that was like, you didn't tell me everything that I needed to do to get this thumbnail to look like this. And I wanted to be like, dude, I gave you all the basics. I taught you how to fish, now go fish, kind of thing. With like, you know, and not only that, I can't make my video 45 minutes long.
Exactly.
Where like I literally gave you the rawest of the raw. Now, if I get big enough and I'm a, you know, a known commodity and people want like a Patreon account where I'm like, sure, I will just have a camera running over my shoulder, and if you want to see my every movement, great. But like, nobody's gonna be on board with that on YouTube. It has to be interesting.
It would be so
and quick.
boring. It would get so boring.
So it's such a. I'm glad that you're at least following that model, because I cannot stand when people are like, "Oh, I'll make a 45-minute video of how to do this," and I'm like, dude, I can't. I just can't.
Dude, if it's a 45-minute video, you better be reviewing like a bad
You better be
movie.
Joe Rogan, basically.
Yeah, or Markiplier or something.
But so 18. You said 18 subscribers.
I have 18. Yes.
What is the name of your channel?
My channel is Rock VFX. That's ROCK VFX.
Yes.
Are
you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram.
All right. I don't even follow you on Instagram. I'm gonna have to. All
I've
right.
actually been getting like Instagram pings from like the little social clip I posted today.
Nice. Well, there you go. Boom. I like your logo too. It's nice and clean.
Thank you.
Did you design it?
I designed it. I have an obsession with the 80s, and that's why the logo is sort of 80s inspired. The intro music, even the music I use in my tutorials, it's all like 80s synthwave music.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I love the 80s.
Is there... Okay, we're not going to talk about gear and beer anymore. We're going to talk about the 80s. Why? You're an 80s baby.
Okay.
So is that why?
So... here's the thing. I'm an 80s baby, but I was born with like 3 months left in the 80s, because I was born in 89.
Oh, God.
So
young.
I was like not even around in the 80s that long before I became like, you're a 90s baby now.
Sure.
It's like, and also I love 90s music too. But the 80s, it was just something about the movies and the colors and the music and just like, dude, the video games, like arcades and stuff. Like, that's why I love Stranger Things so much. Even though the second and third season, I don't think are as good as the first one, it's set in the 80s, and I love it.
You're going to hate me. I've never even watched it.
Oh, no!
I'm sure it's probably... Is it... Okay, question. Do you know what the series was shot on, camera-wise?
Camera-wise, and this is...
I mean, it's a Netflix series, so... Probably what was shot on like an R. Is it a Netflix series? Right.
It is a Netflix series. It might have been a Red.
Okay. Are you a fan of Red? Have you ever edited Red footage? Ah, I'm glad this got up.
I have never edited Red footage.
What is the highest camera, like most expensive camera footage you think you've edited? And not the studio stuff's weird because I don't ever really those cameras. Like if you,
yeah,
I know you've worked with like the FS7s, you've worked with some Canons,
the
right?
Sony F5,
okay,
I think was one of them. It was one of those Sony cameras where it was before you could record internally like 4K on the camera.
Okay,
so you had to have like a separate unit to actually do that. But that was probably it, because I never, like, even some of the films that I did, like, it wasn't like a Red or an Ari because I mean the budget was never there.
I was gonna say you watch all these videos online and that's
Oh
all.
wait,
people...
no, I did edit Red.
Oh,
Yes, actually, you know what? I forgot. There was a film that I edited.
what was it?
It actually hasn't been released yet, and I'm supposed to finish it at some point, and it was kind of filmed like over 5 years ago.
Really?
Well, I wasn't getting paid to edit it.
Oh, well then, yeah, okay.
So it
Fair
was
enough.
just like a favor for a friend, and then like I basically got it's picture locked. It's completely picture locked.
What does that mean?
It basically means that your cut is not going to change once you send it off to the person who's doing the sound and the color on it.
I gotcha.
Because if it does, especially for color, like, okay, whatever. But if you have a picture lock and you send it to sound and you're like, I want to extend this,
They're like,
your sound like person is going to want to murder you.
because I mean, even just one frame throws everything off for that beat or whatever it may be in that cut. Boom.
Oh,
boom,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
So I could see that.
yeah, it's picture lock is like the holy grail of like this. Nothing is changing. We're sending it off to the other departments now to do their job. Do not adjust the frame or anything, or you're gonna mess up the whole process.
Man, I've never even heard that. It's called frame lock?
Picture lock. You
Picture
can probably
lock.
call it frame lock, picture lock,
No, picture. I've just never heard that.
pop lock and drop it. You know,
Hey, pop lock and drop it. Have you ever filmed a music video?
I have never filmed a music video now.
No.
Though I would probably love it because I like editing to music all the time.
So there's this clothing line company in DC, and I know the kids. It's called Bloodline, and they've asked me to shoot a music video for them. They can't afford my rates. That's not the point here.
Oh, money
No,
is always the
no,
point.
yeah, it is. But no, I want to shoot a music video for them so bad, but I kind of like have to do it on my terms because some of the areas they want to go in to shoot the video, I'm like, dude, I just can't. I cannot go into these areas with like $10,000, $15,000 worth of gear and just be, focus on trying to get the right shot just by myself. I don't know why I brought that up, but music video wise, that's the only group of kids I could think of filming something. DC has some interesting areas to go into. So
I think DC is just an interesting area to begin with.
well, I mean, dude, you and I used to work like in the heart of it.
Yeah, and I didn't like it.
No, I hated it because it was well, being near, and just a little background, we worked near Union Station, so it meant like coming from Union, you had to pass all the interesting characters.
Yeah.
Whether you were coming to work, you were going to lunch, you were going out for a quick midday walk, you were just in the heart of basic Crackhead Central. And then like not only that, Walmart was up the road, so it just had that like weird environment of where people, I don't know, they like congregated around.
Well,
there or
apparently
something.
it was like much worse. Probably like 5 or so years ago.
Oh, bro, like my former boss, when they bought in the early 90s, it was borderline ridiculously dangerous to buy on Capitol Hill.
Like they definitely have come a long way. I guess it's just like I'm definitely a city person. I mean, I kind of grew up outside of Pittsburgh and I lived in Pittsburgh for a few years, and like I like the buildings and the skyscrapers and like because I've always had an interest in like architecture. Like I straight up have a book on Pittsburgh architecture.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you ever 3D or Cinema 4D like replicate that stuff?
So when I first, that's a awesome question because when I first started really getting into like 3D modeling, the first things I was modeling were like low poly simplified versions of buildings of the Pittsburgh skyline.
So, all right, you're going in nerd terms.
So they're not like real life looking. They're kind of just a more minimalistic approach to those buildings.
Okay.
So there's not like all these like intricate edges or anything. Like it's very.
When you're like doing it now, because when I watch some of your videos and you're doing it in Cinema 4D, like, are you like taking a photo? I've seen some weird LiDAR thing where you like take a photo and that's kind of like your foundation where you start. Are you starting like that, or are you literally starting from scratch? Like, if you were going to replicate like this beer can, for instance. How do you start your process?
Oh, so you're talking about when people actually like take pictures around it and kind of like they have a model based on all those angles that they took?
I've seen that. I guess that's where my starting point is. I guess I'm wondering how you're starting. Like, where are you starting from? And like, for instance, if you were going to do the Pittsburgh skyline or whatnot, like, how would present day John start that project?
Okay. So, how I would start is definitely gathering as many reference images as I can of like multiple angles of the thing that I'm trying to model.
So for basics beginners, is that like Google Earth, possibly even? Or like
it kind of matters what object. If you're doing buildings, I would say just Google image and just like search the building. Like say you want to model the Chrysler building.
Sure.
And you just Google Chrysler building and you get a bunch of different sort of angles and stuff to be able to be like, okay, it's kind of like this wide and this tall. And you can bring those images into cinema.
Okay.
So you can actually place them as a background and use it as a template. So whenever you're like extruding a cube or whatever stupid primitive you're starting out with, you can actually see the reference and it's almost like you're building on top of it. So that, I mean, sometimes you can just go off your eye and look at your second screen and be like,
sure,
okay, yeah, it's got 4 points. Got it. But it's definitely a process of like, you have to learn a little bit about the object that you are modeling before you actually go in and model it. Because I modeled an old, it's still one of my favorite renders I've ever done. It's of an old Leica camera from the World War II era.
That's cool.
And it was my wife's grandfather's camera. And I loved it. I mean, this thing is from Germany. Like all the text and everything on it is in German. Wow. So it's like legit. Like I looked it up. This thing's worth a couple $1,000s. I would never sell it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that thing is one of a kind. And I was like, I want to model this. And so I set up this really, really janky looking stage with cardboard and white pieces of paper. And I took pictures of it at every single angle. And then I went into Photoshop, put all the pictures into one image. So I had all the angles on one image.
Okay.
Brought that into cinema and basically adjusted the background for all my viewports. So whenever I went to my left viewport, I was looking at the left side of the camera. And if I was looking at my front viewport, I was looking at the front of the camera. And I would basically have that lined up. So whenever I was modeling, all my heights and widths and everything would match up.
I gotcha.
And it's still one of the more complex things I have like modeled. I mean, when I tried to recreate Bly Manor from the Netflix show, like The Haunting of Bly Manor, like that definitely was a process because I've never modeled an entire house before, and it's not like I did the interior. It's not like I can make a little piano and I can put that in the front window.
Still though,
but it was modeling is, I think it's so much fun because it's almost like building with clay, where you're just, if you've ever seen those videos of people like using those little knives and like sculpting out of clay and making like a face or something, like it's so cool. And then it's like, okay, you have your model. Now you have to texture it. And that's a whole nother process.
I was going to say, geez Louise.
It is a process, but dude, once you do it, it looks so good. If you did it right, it looks so good.
Yeah. All right. We're an hour and 4 minutes into this bad boy, which I'm actually proud that we made it this far. This is my longest podcast so far. We're not done.
I could honestly talk another hour.
I know. My wife would kill me, though, because baby next door is all... Well, actually, I think my son finally stopped crying. Oh, that's awful. We're an hour in. But gear and beer, we haven't even talked about in a year. And that's the thing that I think I've been most impressed with over the years, kind of meeting you, is I know you're able to use all this stuff, and I think that comes probably from your film background and everything like that. You've probably had your hands on tons of different cameras and all kinds of lighting. But what do you shoot on for your videos? Yeah, like what do you shoot your videos with? And then what do you edit with? Because like I know you edit in Adobe and stuff, but I'm saying like your physical computer, like your actual setup like this. You know, I've got monitors.
Yeah.
I've got my like actual brain here. But like, what do you use?
Okay, so this might come as a surprise, but all my videos, other than like the stuff I have to screen record for the tutorial portions, but like the shorts at the beginning, all of it's shot on my smartphone.
Samsung?
It's the S20. I have a little rig
Yeah.
that I have it in. I also just bought a 50 or a 65 millimeter lens to put on the front of it.
Who makes it?
It
Moment?
wasn't a Moment lens. I
Okay.
wanted a Moment
Those are
lens,
expensive.
but they are really expensive.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I wish I could remember the name because I only paid $30 for it.
Is
and
it awesome?
It looks, that's what I had on my phone for my most recent video for like the ceiling chest video. Was,
Oh, I saw a photo on Instagram of you like over
Yeah.
top of it.
Yeah,
you
like-
did that with an iPhone, or well, not an iPhone, but
an Android. Yeah. Like that was all shot on an Android.
see, that's why I keep telling people I don't think it.
You don't
matters
need a
about-
high quality camera.
Nope.
Just know what you're doing.
Yep.
Because I use a third party app called it's not actually Filmic Pro. It's
is
a
it?
different one called I believe it's MC Pro 24 FPS. It's a stupid name, but it's
Free or
it cost me like maybe
I mean,
like
I've
10,
paid for Filmic, so
maybe like $10-12.
oh, that's worth
But
it.
the settings are amazing. Like the amount of stuff you can do in this app. And also you can record in like 24 frames per second, which
Is awesome.
if you're on an iPhone, you can already do that. But if you're on an Android like me, I've been Android like the entire time I've ever
you can't
owned.
shoot 24.
You can't shoot 24 unless you want to shoot in 8K, which
That's
who
ridiculous.
shoots in 8K?
Your
that-
phone shoots 8K?
Yeah, this thing shoots 8K, but
That's
I would
dumb.
never do it because
That's
why?
That's dumb.
Why? Am I going to watch it on my 4K TV? Like, there's no point of like 8K.
So you use your phone to film. I'm even more impressed now because honestly, you should do a video about you filming your videos with your phone. Probably go more viral than most stuff.
I mean, probably.
See, that's the thing that sucks is that it's like, I can show you how to use my phone, but I have this awesome camera over here, and people are like, well, I'd rather see you use your phone. You're like, damn it, dang it.
But yeah, it's all filmed on my phone
'Kay.
on like a little rig, and then I have a Zoom H4n
Yep.
thing right
yeah.
there.
That thing is best investment I ever made.
Oh yeah, same here.
Old
And
Faithful.
then I use a Rode NTG2 boom mic, which I
Okay.
have had for a few years now. Great quality audio.
Is that what you use it for your voiceovers?
No, actually for my voiceovers, I use a Shure SM57 mic,
That's probably a very nice mic.
which is technically the old style mics. I mean, they still use it in recording studios, but like that was very prevalent in like the 60s and 70s, I believe, in recording studios. Because
Really?
before you had guitarists like just plugging into like a preamp and like they just go right into the board, they would just mic up amps, and the amps were mic'd up with Shure SM57 microphones.
That's not the $100 one, is it?
Yeah, that's like the $100
No,
one.
the reason I asked is Logan, I had him on recently, and he busted out that same mic, and I literally said to him, I was like, the fact that mic is $100 for a Shure mic, I would just buy it just because it's that brand.
It's
I mean,
a
that brand
good.
is ridiculous.
I've had that microphone since my senior year of high school, and it is like
Going right into your Zoom box?
actually no, I have an audio interface made by Line 6. I've had that for a few years too. It's kind of a little janky right now. I need to like replace
Bro,
it at some
hey,
point.
if you're not janky, you ain't doing it. Okay? 'Cause
Exactly.
You gotta, like, if you can afford everything, I probably don't want to work with you. At least not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe down the road.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of like my audio interface, and I just have the SM57 going into my little Line 6 audio interface, and I record the voiceovers in parts using Adobe Audition, because
Okay.
I've been using Adobe Audition before Adobe bought the rights to the program, because it used to be called Cool Edit Pro.
Really?
And then Adobe bought that software and turned it into Audition. So that's how long I've been using that program.
You're like an OG of this.
Oh, I'm so OG. It's
But
like
the final question. No, I have one more question for you, because this would determine if you're OG. Because I can't claim this ever. Will never be able to claim this. Have you shot film?
I have never shot film, but I do own a 8mm film camera that came with a roll of film.
Really?
But I'm very reluctant to use it. I don't even know if the film's still good. I bought this at a warehouse mall. But I love collecting old cameras because the history and just like, dude, it's Super 8.
Yeah.
Super 8 is so just retro, and I'm all about retro. I mean, I have a tape cassette in my pocket.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. I didn't want to bring it up. Just kidding.
I'm so into the whole nostalgia factor, and I don't know, I can't get past it. I mean, I'm cool with adapting to the times,
Sure.
but like, you got to learn to appreciate the times that have actually passed and like really take it in, because we didn't get here just overnight. It took years and decades and stuff to get here. So, yeah, I would say I'm really into nostalgia and retro stuff.
Fair enough. Well, we've officially been chatting for the longest podcast I've ever done. I think this will be episode number 6. I've already crushed this beer. Did you crush yours already?
Oh no, I'm a slow drinker.
I know. I have to pace myself. That's why I brought this out second go round. But cheers, man.
Cheers.
John Rockovich, thank you so much for joining me. And if you guys are interested in seeing some of John's work, I'll put it in the link description. And thanks for joining the Gear and Beer podcast, episode number 6.
Yeah.
This has been a good one, dude.
A lot of fun.
Dude.
So much fun.
An hour? I'm going to have you back. Hour and 13 minutes.
Oh, I will come back. I could make this podcast 5 hours if you really wanted it to.
We won't do that to you guys.
Okay.